Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to a very special extra interview of Final Cut. Today I'm joined by an actor, but mainly a gymnast and a stuntman, so with no danger here today, he can relax for a change. So ladies and gentlemen, the first stuntman I've ever had on my interviews, Chris Silcox.
Hey there, Dean. Thanks for having me, man.
Nah, the honour is all mine, sir. Thank you very much for coming on. Obviously, firstly, how are you? Obviously.
I'm good, man. I'm sore. I'm trying to get back into things after this very long pause that we've all had from production and shows.
Yeah, it's not really been the ideal environment for everything, but it's going back to normal.
Yeah, things are picking back up, actually, so it's quite nice to see. We're lucky, I guess, that we can figure out a way to work during this time, although it has provided its own difficulties. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good regardless, you know?
I'm glad you are, mate, I really am. So obviously the first question, how did you get started out in doing gymnastics and then obviously into stunt work?
I was a gymnast since I was about 7 years old. My mom used to teach gymnastics at our gym in San Antonio, Texas, and I would go there and play around and just, you know, screw around all day, get my mom in trouble, get myself in trouble, and the coach for the men's team there thought I was talented and decided to put me on the team. And I loved it. I loved the competition, and I loved the individual aspect of it. And yeah, it was just a great challenge, and it was something I was good at, kind of from the beginning. And that's how that started. So I put it as a goal of mine to go to the Olympics, not once but several times. And I didn't quite make it that far. I got to go compete for the U.S. Internationally at the the World University Games, and be on the national team, and compete in the NCAA for University of Illinois. And I was an All-American there, and had a great time, learned to be a part of a really good team. And while I was at university, I was also getting my acting degree after having been on stage for a few years in middle school and high school, and meshed that all with a kind of weird job in the circus for Cirque du Soleil. So after college and after all that competition, I worked with Cirque for a few years, creating shows. And once that time was done, I thought it would be a good challenge and a good time to try to see if I could do film and TV work, because that was the next step up in my head. And I've been doing that ever since. But yeah, that's the whole story pretty much. So yeah, podcast's over. Amazing. Good job.
I noticed you mentioned NCAA. I must admit that is actually quite high, isn't it? Because I think Kurt Angle, I might be getting me wrestling facts here, but it was Brock Lesnar who was NCAA champion, so it's actually quite high up in the university degree, isn't it?
Yeah, especially if you're on a Division I team. If you're at a big school, you know, that's most football players and basketball players, they do a year of NCAA tournaments, and they will go into the professional league right after. And there's a professional aspect to gymnastics, but it's not as it's just not as lucrative as those other sports. It is for females, and you'll see quite a lot of female gymnasts go to college after they've had a good career in gymnastics, just because they peak earlier in gymnastics.
Yeah. So obviously being a gymnast, you actually have to be quite a slim gym, I'll say. So what is your daily training regime, and also what do you eat, roughly?
Since my job is so full of variety these days, it kind of depends on what I'm doing that week or that month. So, for instance, if I'm doing a lot of fighting, to a boxing gym, and I'll hit the bag for a few hours each day, and I'll train with a friend doing some mitt work, and then as part of my baseline training regimen, I always do a bit of gymnastics, like very basic stuff, going across the floor, regular rolls, handstands, the whole floor exercise thing, round-offs, back handsprings, back tucks, and then I add in a bunch of parkour stuff, just because that's always a good way to keep me moving. In addition to parkour, a bit of tricking, and the gymnastics that I've grown up with, I do at least 30 minutes of conditioning each day, and that's just an old circuit that I used to do from gymnastics.
Blimey.
And yeah, that's pretty much a daily thing. If I ever do take a day off, it's basically because I'm being lazy or maybe because I'm working, but
it's nice to have a day off, though, isn't it?
Bench. Almost. Say that again? There's no what?
Yeah. It's nice to have a day off, though, isn't it?
Yes, it is nice to have a day off, and it's been nice having this long break too. But it is kind of getting, in terms of my physicality and stuff. So it's nice to have a regiment that keeps you going every day, and then when you've done the work, to have that day off is nice. And then I do my own like PT. I'll get massage quite often. I try to treat myself like a professional athlete, because I guess in essence that's kind of what a stuntman is. If you're working often enough, you're at the level of about a professional athlete. Maybe you aren't paid as well, but you do crazy sometimes. Oh, and what do I eat? Oh man, I eat everything. I eat a lot of protein, eat a lot of bread. I'm probably the worst person to ask about like a good diet, but I do get my greens in, and I do get, I have a lot of vitamins. I have at least a green juice every other day, or some kind of smoothie or something. Drink a lot of coffee, and I have a beer every once in a while. And my college drinking days are over, I think, but an IPA every once in a while. But yeah, that's got to be changed around too, depending on what you're working on. So when I was in doing stuff for Spider-Man: Homecoming, we were in the Spidey suit, and it was hard to be the same size as the suit makes you each time. So you needed to really get off of bread and stay on greens and watch the amount of protein you eat. Actually, you had to keep from working out too much if you're going to fit into that suit. So you have to tailor it to each experience, which is not something I'm used to.
I'd say it sounds like a battle and a half in deciding, right, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. But when it comes to actually, like, let's say doing Spider-Man, it's like, no, I've got to lay off that, even though I literally want one. I have to lay off it and concentrate more on this one.
Yeah, it's like, I really want that burger, man. I deserve it. I hit the ground 10 times today. Like, oh, I really want it, but you know what? I will not indulge,
Oh, yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I'm like that every day. Obviously, you're a bit of a movie fan, because obviously that's why you came into the stunt business. So, who were your influences growing up?
Man, so many. I always loved, when I was growing up, I mean, very young, I liked really kooky stuff. I liked The Wizard of Oz. I liked Beetlejuice. I liked film just in general, not only for the stunts and stuff they did in it, but for the acting and for the storytelling and stuff. So movies have always been a really integral part of my life. Man, there's too many to name. Back to the Future has probably shaped a large part of my life. Everything that Marty McFly did. And then, I mean, I guess in terms of individuals, you can't really get too much better I mean, Jackie Chan is the be-all, end-all of awesomeness. I don't think he gets enough credit for parkour, actually, as he's done for the sport. And just, you know, his opera and performing background was just something to idolize. So I've emulated him in every part of everything I've done. And then, shoot, man, all the movies of Steven Spielberg, just huge fans. You know, I mean, there was growing up for a kid than sitting in that theater and watching, you know, the dinosaurs come to life in front of you. And
yeah.
I can't. There wasn't a bigger moment. The only other big moment, because we all have moments that are kind of like for the better or for the worse, or scare us or scar us or something. And there's only two movies that really did that for me. One was Jurassic Park, and the other was The Matrix, obviously, because it was just so jarring and badass, you know? And then after The Matrix, I think I knew that stunt work might actually be viable for somebody like me with my talents. If it's the way to go, if that's the way to be involved in this industry, those are my goals, you know? Do movies like that, be people like Jackie Chan and, you know, Buster Keaton, now that I've seen so many of his films. And man, yeah, those are good people to start off with, I think, because I could go on for another hour over all this.
Well, not forgetting Chad Stahelski, who directs a lot of John Wick. He started off on The Matrix as Keanu Reeves' stunt double, and not done him any. Not done him
as
any.
Keanu's double,
Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah. It's just an amazing job they did. You know, it was not genre changing, but it was just that moment, you know, where things have to be that good or better now. And they made that jump. So amazing stuff they do.
So obviously, since you are my first stuntman, I've made no bones about that. I have to ask, what else goes into a stuntman's work aside from obviously doing the stunts? Because I've been a movie fan for 30 odd years, and even from an early age, I knew it's not as simple as it sounds, just being a stuntman.
Yeah, it's so full of new skills and new you know, ways of approaching. So if you're good at gymnastics now you have to, instead of doing back handsprings or something down, you know, the aisle of a church or something like in the Blues Brothers, now you have to do it downstairs or on a moving vehicle or on top of an 18-wheeler. So it's taking things that you're good at and doing them in places that nobody's ever done them before. And so what you're doing when you're doing stunt work is you're creating something new each time, because nobody's quite ever done what you're going to do before. It's not like a gymnastics event where you're going to do that same pommel horse routine or high bar routine, or even a circus show where you're going to do that same, you know, performance or apparatus with those very technical moves. Each time you do something, it's brand new. So you don't know what's going to happen. And sometimes it's awesome, sometimes it hurts, and sometimes it's, you know, not what you thought it was. So what goes into it, it's a lot of adaptation, I would say. Adaptation to the given circumstances. You got to be. It's one of the best opportunities to be very present, you know, because if you aren't, you're going to probably hurt yourself and maybe even hurt somebody else. So you have to be super concentrated, which is, you know, it's very fun when you get those opportunities, because how many opportunities do you really get where you are in this state of like flow, where you know that you have this goal and you have this thing to accomplish? It's really it's fun and scary, and it gets your adrenaline pumping, and it's awesome.
I bet it is. Oh yeah, just in case anyone's wondering if Chris has any social media, he has an Instagram account. I have been going through it, and it's full of gymnastics, parkour, almost like mini movies. So how fun is it to do stories like that? Whether it be for Insta, I'm assuming you've got a Twitter account as well.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love that. I love that Instagram is a good visual medium, and it's really useful for playing around with how with editing and stuff. I guess it was the first, serious foray a lot of people get into editing, actually. And when you can edit something together and you can see what it does, it really gives you a sense of like, oh, this is how they, this is a very small part of how they make movies in general. And it's a lot of fun, to match it up with music and create your own little music videos, your own stories. And yeah, it's a good time. Yeah, I love it as a visual medium, and it's really good professionally too, because when people want to know what you do, they just check you out on Instagram, and that's for every job in entertainment almost. You can check out somebody's cinematography reel, you can see what somebody's acting work is, you can see somebody's directing work, and then you can see what people have been doing in terms of stunts, like what they're training, what they're good at, who they're with, all of that stuff.
I'm going to say your resume is pretty long, as I'll point out in a bit. Speaking of your stunt work, there is actually a question for me. Now, I seem to recall one of your Instagram stories was from Atlanta, which, as everybody knows, is where the MCU is filmed quite a bit. So, did you film something for the MCU in Atlanta?
Yes, we filmed Spider-Man Homecoming there. We filmed, we were there for about 6 months, 3 months of which were just complete experimentation from all of the stunts that they had in the script. And then the last 3 months were all filming the whole film and taking part of every stunt and almost every day on set, every day on set, even some of the smallest stuff, because there's some kind of danger involved, usually, just in terms of blocking or movement or, making sure extras are safe. So yeah, it was I can't say how honored and what a privilege it was to be able to work on that, because that's like every little boy's dream, to go work on Spider-Man. You can't do better. It's amazing.
Generally can't. Unless you're a Batman fan, which I am, so obviously you pray for a Batman movie.
Actually, you know what? I am a Batman fan too, so I just wish I was a little taller. I think I would have to be one of the guys he beats up or saves.
Fair enough. Actually, it's quite glad you brought Spider-Man up, because there's a video on your Instagram of you doing promo work in Japan for Spider-Man. I believe you Tobey Maguire'd your way down from the ceiling and scared the host. Is it Natsuna? That's how you pronounce the name, isn't it?
Yeah.
You scared her out of the seat.
Natsuna, yeah.
I must admit,
yeah,
genius, absolute genius. But when she stopped having a heart attack, did she say nice one, or did she try and get you back before you left?
She was she had a bit of a heart attack, but then she was really relieved after she saw what happened. And then when she saw the replay of her in slow-mo, she thought it was hilarious. So she wasn't able to get me back, unfortunately, but we got her good. Yeah, I was waiting up in the rafters for about 20 minutes for them to get her situated and start the show, so that she didn't know we were there waiting. And then they down right beside her, and we didn't know what she was going to do, so it was pretty amazing, her reaction.
I don't think you'd been saying that if she would have hit you in your face, whether it be like an actual reaction or anything like that.
I'm a little afraid of that every time we do these kinds of things. There's another video. I don't know if you saw it, but we took some time for homecoming because this last one in Japan was for Far From Home. We hid in a Starbucks atop right over where people get their drinks. And we had people come in and order their drinks, come wait for their Starbucks, and I would drop in and grab my coffee as Spider-Man upside down and scare the crap out of them and go back up into the ceiling with my coffee. There's a video of it on YouTube. It was one of my favorite. Crap. I thought it wasn't going to work at all. I was like, everybody's going to see me. I must have scared the crap out of 60 people that day. It was amazing. If you get a chance, it's pretty funny, some people's reactions. But those are kind of actually some of my favorite things to do. Prank shows. Those are they're like live performance. They're kind of like the closest thing you can film to a live performance.
In that case, go and phone up the producers of Punk'd and see if you can punk someone. Yeah, we should figure out a stunt episode to do with them. Yeah, because imagine all the ideas you could actually come to fruition doing that.
Ooh, I got a lot actually. Ashton, call me up.
I bet you have. I must ask this because as a gymnast, how do you not get dizzy? Because obviously, when you're doing gymnastics, you're going round and round constantly. Is it something you learn to do, or is it something that you adapt to do? Because I've seen some of your gymnastics videos, and you do go quite quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's something you adapt to. You may, if you didn't do it when you were young, it might be kind of something to get used to. But I think you can adapt pretty well if you do it pretty consistently for a few years or even a few months. Just depends on how often you practice. But I mean, even now, if I take some time off and I go and flip around in the gym, I'll see some stars. I'll see some stars on those first couple flips, and it never really bothered me. But I guess I don't know if that's something that you naturally are okay with, or if it's something that's kind of ingrained in you from years and years of practice. That would be a good. So when you're, I think it's something that you pretty much adapt to, and it'd be a pretty good experiment to see if it's something like natural within each person, like if they're just more adept at. If it's something that you can really change about yourself. I think it's pretty changeable. I think you can adapt to it like most athletes adapt to, any new skills or any kind of new training they have to do. But yeah, I think, time and familiarity, they always make the difference.
Yeah. It definitely does. Just a quick question, because I actually didn't realise this, but you actually did Strictly Come Dancing 10 years ago, didn't you?
Yeah, actually, that was one of my first TV appearances.
Which was 10 years ago, so happy decade in the business, sir.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Right, so obviously I used to watch Strictly up until a few years ago, so...
I did?
Yeah, so which series were you on? Or where, I should have where were you?
I'm trying to remember the stars you guys had on at that time. Man, we filmed that in Blackpool.
Yes.
That was fun.
I did Blackpool that year.
Nice. The Las Vegas of London. You did what?
Oh, yeah, I remember it, because everyone always looks forward to going to Blackpool.
Yeah, of course. We did the episode. Yeah. There was a live performance from a singer named Duffy, I think.
Oh, yes, I remember Duffy.
And then we were doing it as a promo performance for the Cirque show that I was doing in Las Vegas called Viva Elvis, which is like a celebration of Elvis Presley's life and work, which was a pretty... Just had a really bad luck of a run. We opened right in the middle of the financial crisis in 2009, so nobody was in Vegas for about 2 or 3 years. So the show did not do well, but it was quite a beautiful show. And even before then, we did a performance on. So that was my very first TV appearance, was on Dancing with the Stars, if you can believe it. And then second was Strictly Come Dancing, which is wild that you remember that episode.
I actually do a lot of my research, sir. I always make sure I know. So obviously, all right then, here's a question for you. Would you prefer Strictly Come Dancing or Dancing with the Stars?
I prefer Strictly Come Dancing. You guys have a beautiful, huge, like, dance hall where you did everything. We had time to go around town. Pool, England has some pretty amazing things about it. Got some fish and chips. I mean, you can't really, I know LA is nice and all, but you can't really beat going to another country in terms of what you're going to see is completely new and all the people are. Yeah, we had a full aerial team on that show. We had time to play around with the cameras. Oh yeah, that was a great time. That was a good one. Strictly Come Dancing.
But obviously that was when you first started out, but obviously you've done a lot more since then. Aside from obviously the TV series, movies and Strictly, you've actually done stuff with MTV, the legend that is Pharrell Williams, VH1 and Lip Sync Battles. So what was it like to work with names and shows like that?
Yeah, it's really surreal because you never know when you've seen them for so many years just on this visual medium, and you don't know, you think you know them a little bit from the persona, but you don't really. And yeah, it's always surprising mostly how nice and how lovely people are. Pharrell, we did a music video of his. I forget the name of the music video right now. I think it's on my IMDb, but I'll remember it in 1 minute. But it was a video that came out with his song on Apple Music, and we held Pharrell on our shoulders, me and another stuntman. We held him on our shoulders for like 6 minutes in the middle of a big group of people, and he was like dancing and singing with an overhead camera on us. It's just experiences that you never really know are going to happen. But I kind of became a de facto stunt coordinator that day because there was nobody there to oversee any of the physical things happening. And we had to climb on top of people, and it was a big mess. It was a non-union. It was a huge cluster of things, but it was a lot of fun now that I think about it. And then when the MTV and the lip sync battle, you encounter some pretty fun celebrities, and they're not doing too serious of work. They're not filming a film or filming a TV show. They're having fun at this kind of live performance venue, so they can be a little looser, they can be a little bit more playful, and that's always a lot of fun to see,
Yeah, I must admit, I've always been wondering how that ended, but then again, like you said, you literally, first time you were doing stunt coordinator, and I bet you're doing it quite a lot now, aren't you?
I'm doing it a little bit more now, yeah. There's I've been able to coordinate a music video for Meghan Trainor, TV commercial for Honda, no TV shows or films as of yet, but yeah, I think it's a really important part of the filmmaking process that most people don't know too much about. And so, yeah, I think it's an avenue that I could go down. I'm not sure about it, but I guess it is kind of where my expertise is taking me.
I do have one question about Lip Sync Battle. What are LL Cool J and Chrissy Teigen like? Have you met them?
I haven't met LL Cool J, and I don't think I met Chrissy Teigen, although she was there for the for all of the hosting stuff, and she was really happy to have us on the show. And yeah, she's super bubbly and nice and a lovely lady. She had, I think, John Legend and their son backstage, so she would, in between takes, she would, because John Legend would just come and hang out with people in the back, and there's a lot of dancers that I know that are on lip sync battle, so they just go and they hang out with all the dancers, just like family, and then she brings them out and says hey to the crowd and everything. It's like playtime for them. It's like a celebrity daycare family. I don't know, time. It was really endearing.
Because I do actually watch lip sync battle quite a bit, and I've always wondered.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've always wondered what is Chrissy Teigen like in real life. So I'm actually quite more looking forward to the day where I actually get to interview her.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she's amazing. She's so bubbly and full of energy, and she has so much fun.
Great sense of humour.
Absolutely.
Right, so we're going to crack on now because obviously there's a lot to ask you about. In case anybody doesn't know what my guest has done stunt work for, I'll give you a taster, but I'll give you a bit of a spoiler with it. You might want to go and make a cup of tea because there's a lot. There's Casey Undercover, Gamer's Guide to Pretty Much Everything, Greatest Showman, NCIS, Timeless, Westworld, Station 19, Future Man, Black Lightning, Runaways, The Orville, Little Fires Everywhere, Hollywood, Space Force, Fear Walking Dead. So you've done a bit then?
Yeah, I've gotten pretty lucky.
Yes, I'm a little bit out of breath after all that. However,
there's yeah, well, it's funny because you start off never having done anything, and then soon enough you do one thing and then another, and then they just keep rolling, and then you end up having 50 different TV shows and films that you've done, and you're like, where did it's a lot of fun.
I'm just wondering, with that little resume, I wonder what else you're going to be doing in the next couple of years.
Well, there's definitely a lot of films yet to be made and TV shows yet to do. So I guess we'll see. Normally, what you do is a lot of these shows and films, they have really small groups of people that work on them, relatively. And you'll see the same faces on them. Our DP, our director of photography for Spider-Man, was the DP on the Honda commercial that I stunt coordinated. His name's Sal, and he's an amazing guy, great DP if you see Spider-Man Homecoming. And then things just kind of work out like that all the time. You'll see the same people on different sets, and you'll be friends with them, and they'll call you for different opportunities, and timing works out, and then you get to work with them, and if timing doesn't work out, you don't, and all of that stuff. So the future looks good.
The future looks bright, not too...
but only... Yes, the future does look bright. You're correct. It's been pretty dark the past few months for everybody too, and that is including our industry. Our industry hasn't been able to produce everything and been able to do anything. But it's something that you can work around, that you can adapt to. So hopefully it'll continue to be bright,
Things can only get better from here on then. Oh yes, I'm glad.
You're right about that.
I'm glad you brought Spider-Man Homecoming up, because not a lot of people know this, but you were actually Tom Holland's stunt double on that movie.
Yes.
So what exactly?
Yes, I was.
What exactly did it feel like playing Spider-Man? So it's like when people actually watched it, they were actually watching you as well at certain points.
Yeah, at certain points, there had. Not just me, but we had two other stunt doubles as well, because there was just so much to do. And at most of the time, Tom would do as much as he could, and he's so with all of his physicality, he can pretty much do anything. And the only thing that we would make sure to take care of is make sure that he was comfortable, that he got to feel good doing it, and we tested out everything that he did before he did it. And then if there wasn't enough time, we would take over, because, you can put anybody in that suit, and it'll, if we're the same size and weight as Tom, it'll look like Tom. And I think one of the things most people don't understand about stunt work is we're largely there to save time. And be on another unit doing... I can be in the Spider-Man suit on one unit, on a second unit where we film a lot of action, and then Tom can be on another unit with one of our other stunt doubles, and he can be doing all the acting, and then if we need to put in a real... we can do it on the first unit, and then I can be doing stuff on the second unit, or we can swap, and that double on the first unit can come to second unit, I can go to the first unit and be there just in case. So what we do is we're largely like two places at once, and then we test out everything and make sure that if doing the stunt. So that's actually quite a large part of what we do, in addition to the actual performance that you capture and that is finally cut into the film,
Yeah. Obviously, we're on the subject of Spider-Man. Did you do any for Far From Home?
Not for the film, but we did do some for the promotional part of the film. So, like you saw the Japan prank show we did.
I did, yeah.
That was part of the promotion. I went to Rome. I filmed a commercial for a mobile company, a telecom company, with Spider-Man that they had in association. There's a really funny and kind of bizarre commercial that we did during Homecoming, and it's on YouTube if you ever want to check it out. It's pretty funny. And we had done that for Homecoming, so I went back to do that for Far From Home. And then the film the film was actually filmed in the UK and in Prague and Berlin and a few other places. So you actually had two other stunt doubles from the UK doing Tom's stunt work for him for Far From Home.
I want to say, because obviously you're not just a stunt, you don't just not a stuntman, but you're also an actor. Because
yes, sir.
You've pulled double duty obviously in Spider-Man. You've done it in Fear the Walking Dead, Greatest Showman, and Casey Undercover. Would you like to do more acting, or would you is your main focus on the stunt work?
I always actually thought of myself as an actor first, because it's what I wanted to do. I didn't actually know, to tell you the truth, that stunt work was something viable, something that and it's literally something I, for lack of a better word, fell into after I started doing more work here. But yeah, I got my degree in acting. I did a lot of stuff on stage. Cirque du Soleil was a lot of acting. And so, yeah, I'll continue to do as much acting work as I do stunt work, because I don't think that the two are mutually exclusive. I think they help one another in terms of, I think a lot of people, if you talk to any other stuntman, you'll get a more myopic view that actors are just something separate. I don't think that at all. So I'll completely continue to be an actor for the rest of my life, and a stuntman as far as I can. And if I can't do stunts anymore, then maybe oversee some of the stunts or be involved some way, shape, or form.
Yep. There's always more in the film business anyway than what you can actually do.
Yeah, there's a lot, There's a lot to learn. It's as much of a scientific and technical and almost, machine oriented discipline than it is an artistic medium.
It definitely is. All right, so here's a question for you. You've done stunt work for both Marvel and DC. So, which of the two do you prefer?
Man,
Just so you know, there is
I don't know if you can.
Yeah. Just so you know, there is no wrong answer to this. So if you say pick one over the other, there will be no judgment on my behalf.
Nobody's going to call in and say you lost a job. So I don't know, man. They both have really fun things about them. I guess Marvel is a little prestigious, I guess, in terms of their success. But I've always been a bigger Batman fan than I have of anybody else. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think I'd have to work on a couple more DC films to really see what the difference is. But I'm going to choose Marvel. Sorry, DC. Maybe you'll change my mind in the future. But I mean, Spider-Man really has given me everything, and that opportunity has really impacted me a lot more than I ever thought. So I think that's where my heart is.
Oh, bless you. To be fair, if you would have said Marvel, I probably would have agreed with you, because obviously you've done more stuff for Marvel than you have DC, so it's a fair enough answer. All right, then. You actually did a short movie in 2019 called Rhinoceros, which you did virtually everything for. So I'm assuming that you would like to expand your skill set for the future?
Yeah, I thought when I got started in here, I mean, because it was much different than I had, coming from just doing stage and theater work my entire life. It was such a, I guess the performers were always the most important people on stage, because if they didn't show up, then there was no performance. But when you got into a film set, there were just so many departments and so many different ways of capturing things, and then ways of distributing it and using that to get to a larger audience. It just seemed like it was worth it to learn more aspects of it. So yeah, with this was almost kind of an experiment in producing, directing, acting, and camera work. It was basically my own little foray into film school. So I figured if I didn't go to film school, maybe I can try to make a little film and see if I learn as much. And I got to say, experience really helps with the education. There's some merit to sitting in front of a book and sitting in front of a lecture, but when you really have to get up and make something and get it done by a certain time, that teaches you more than anything. So yeah, I've really I will definitely be pursuing directing and acting in and creating my own films in the future, and TV shows and stuff. So it's just too fun. There's just too many fun things about it.
Who knows, if you play your cards right, Marvel might actually hand you the reins one day to one of their movies. It happens. That would be so beautiful. Yeah, I can't wait for the day. It might happen. I mean, like I said, look at Chad Stahelski. I mean, Jon Favreau was mainly an actor when he did Iron Man. Now look at him. Yeah, it's true. Absolutely. It's funny. Yeah, it's funny how everybody gets their opportunity to really show off what they can do, and so it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing what you can do once you get started, and after you meet a group of people that are doing the kind of work that you emulate, and then when you get to work with them and then eventually make your own stuff, it's pretty amazing. It definitely is. I mean, Chad Stahelski's done amazing works, and there's no reason why anybody else who goes down that route can't. This next bit it's a thing I ask all my people I interview. It's just mainly their advice for people. So, what advice would you give someone who is going through a decision whether they feel they're getting nowhere with the singing, the dancing, the movie career, or even stunt work even? Mm-hmm. So what would your advice be if they feel like giving up? Oh, yeah, I mean, the first thing I got to say is we all feel it. I've done 50 plus TV shows and films, and I still feel it. I feel it to this day. I wonder
whether what I'm doing is even important. Like, why the hell am I even doing entertainment crap when, you know, the ice caps are melting and when our political system is in such, you know, charged upheaval? I mean, what good could I possibly even be doing playing around with this, you know, crap? But there's a reason that you're good at something and that you want to do something like this. And it was there from when you were born, and you gotta constantly keep searching for that and renewing that and remember what it was like to feel that way when you saw that movie or you saw that performance or you took that picture or you filmed that stunt or you did that performance. You got to kind of relive those and capture those on and then keep chasing them so you get to do it again. And I still feel like quitting quite a lot. The only thing that keeps me going is that I know that if I concentrate long enough on something and if I'm persistent enough, things will bend to my will. And that's just a law of human nature. You know, it's just nothing really can withstand a persistent effort on your part. So my best advice is don't quit. Just don't quit. That's the only way that you can ever, you know, work with the people that you want to work with and create the work that you want to do. Just don't quit. You got to find something each day, even a little thing that you can accomplish that can give you a little bit of drive to go on. Don't quit. That's it.
Simple enough advice, which I hope anybody who is thinking like that will follow. Since you're basically in the MCU, practically, I think this would be a question that actually does concern you quite a bit, actually, is, do you think that cinemas will soon be replaced by straight streaming services just because of what Trolls World Tour went through earlier this year?
Wait. But what went through? I didn't hear that last part. Sorry.
It's all right. What happened was, I think it was some Trolls World Tour. I think it was. They were going to put it in the movie. They were going to put it in screenings as normal, but then they decided to release it on what's it called? iTunes and everything straight away instead of
direct on demand. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it ended up doing quite well for them. And then Universal and the movie theaters, they all got pissed off at each other and stuff much. Like that. Yeah,
yeah, that's it.
I don't know. I mean, it follow the economic landscape of films and studios almost as much as I follow the artistic elements.
Yeah,
and it's a very interesting situation that we have right now because it's hard to tell people to go to the movies right now. I mean, it's just not safe. You can say as much as you like, you can wear the masks and stuff, but it's hard to, when people are dying, it's hard to say that this is worthy enough of your time. And I mean, I should be the biggest proponent of going to the movies because I love the movies, but there's going to be a time where it's going to be safe again, you know? So until then, it's pretty amazing all of the access that we have to entertainment and to the quality of that can go directly to your laptop and your cell phone and your iPad or whatever. I don't think theaters will ever go away, though. I love going to the theater too much. You can't watch a movie at home or in an airplane or on your phone and have the same experience. When I saw Jurassic Park and The Matrix, they had that effect on me because I saw them in the theater. If I would have seen them on my TV, I don't think it would have had the same effect. When you go see Tenet, eventually, if you haven't seen it already, a large part of experiencing it is going to be because they've catered it to that that sound system and that size of theater, I think it does make a difference, the size of the theater and the size of the screen that you watch it on. So I don't think theaters will ever go away. Here's what I think will happen. I think Amazon, I think Netflix, I think Apple, I think eventually they will buy the theaters. I think they'll buy AMC, I think they'll buy Regal Cinemas, all of those things, and it'll be like, go into the Amazon theater, and then you'll watch their productions along with whatever. You'll go to the Netflix theater, and you can watch their productions, and you go to the Apple theater. Maybe it won't work out exactly like that, but I think that's more of the future. And then streaming will continue to become as important as television and movies.
That's definitely not an answer I've had before, to be honest. Majority of people who I actually ask that question to think that cinemas will still be here for a very long time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're going to be here. I don't think they'll have the same structure that they'll have anymore. They'll present their movies on there, but it won't matter. The box office numbers maybe won't matter anymore, not as much as they used to, because I'm pretty sure that's the way it's going to go. I mean, it's just a matter of time. I'm certain, before AMC gets bought by one of those streaming companies.
Will always have plenty of money on their side, particularly in the last couple of months where they flourished.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, then, let's ask you a question about you. So, what are your passions and what are your interests outside of stunt work and acting?
Outside of stunt work and acting, I'm a huge live music fan and a huge fan of music in general. I take lots of singing classes. I take piano, and I've been playing the drums as soon as I got out of college. I bought a drum set from a 12-year-old on Craigslist as soon as I moved to Vegas to be part of the Cirque show that I was in. And I annoyed the hell out of my roommates and learned to play drums pretty well. And I played in a band for a while, and I'll continue to play music for the rest of my life. I recently got married. My wife, Jen, is also in the entertainment industry, and we like to travel and take care of our dog, Noodle. She's a little poodle, and she's hilarious. And those kinds of things. I like to have new experiences and continue to learn different things too. I guess there's not a lot of time outside of the education you kind of need to get for this industry, but almost everything else is going to be helpful. Trading. I'm an avid investor as well. I look at the stock market very closely every day, and then try to make sense of the very complex world that we have. But yeah.
All right. Yep.
What do you say? A jack of all trades, I guess.
A jack of all trades.
If you can say that.
Yep. Fair enough.
Yeah, I try to be.
All we can do is try, regardless of what Yoda says, to be honest.
All we can do is try.
All right.
It's true.
Yeah, it is definitely true. What would you say are your career highlights?
Well, definitely
Spider-Man.
Definitely Spider-Man. I mean, like I said, there's no job that you can really have that's as I could literally quit and say I reached the pinnacle of my stunt career after I got to double Spider-Man in the in a feature film and be one of his main stunt doubles. That's definitely a career highlight. And then also, I don't know, being part of Cirque du Soleil was pretty important because I had grown up watching them. It was pretty amazing being a part of that company and seeing how they create things from the ground up, and just knowing that I was wanted, I guess, by that group of entertainers. It was really flattering. and I think, yeah, trying to think of other things that would be as amazing as that. But I'd have to say the work that we did on Greatest Showman is probably one of the other more amazing things, because it combined my circus background with my gymnastics, and we were doing it for this new film. You know, it was a musical. It was stunts. It was circus. It was this big, like, amalgamation of all of these things that I really love, and I got to be a part of it. And it was kind of new and fresh, and it was hip, and it was indescribable. It was really amazing. I was really honored that I got to be a part of it. And it kind of came out of left field from a source, from a friend who was organizing all of the circus aspects of the film. And it was like a little gift handed to me for sticking around.
Oh. And look what's
in the business and sticking around and not giving up.
I'm going to say it was probably one of the greatest movies of last year. Nobody could have predicted how long it would stay in theaters.
Yeah, it was surreal. It was really crazy how well it did, and be part of it. It was really fun.
All right, then. What would you like the future to hold for you? As in, what would you like to happen to you in the next 10, 20 years?
I would continue to combine the acting and stunt aspects of my work, and continue to maybe have a little bit more of a creative edge, maybe a stronghold on stuff in the future. So I guess it means creating my own TV shows, films, and continuing just how to storytell. I think basically at the very heart of what we do is, I think one of the things that movies do well is sell toys, and the other thing they do really well is storytell. So I'm not much of a toy salesman, but I do like storytelling quite a lot, and so hopefully I'll just become a really effective storyteller and direct things, help other people get their things made, help write, continue the education in storytelling.
If you need any tips on that, I recommend you go and get Jonathan Nolan's number.
Yeah, you and me both, man. I conversation with him because he's quite amazing, huh? That whole team is amazing. I love their stories. Oh yeah, he's the best one, Christopher Nolan. I mean, how can you get much better than the stories he tells? It's like you're being stuck inside of a maze and he's not letting you out until you get to play along with the characters. What fun,
I still maintain he is the best director of this generation, if not up there with like Hitchcock.
Oh yeah, man. It's just amazing. All of the different things that he's used to tell stories. Just astounding. All of the different he brought a really intellectual and a very just a really mature, kind of like the next level of evolution, if you can, to film in general, that it can be this really amazing thing for your mind, and also can be really entertaining,
And he's not afraid to put Tom Hardy in a mask either.
No, he's not.
I've always wondered what his fascination with putting Tom Hardy in the mask is. Does it kind of like make him go to that extra level, do you think?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. I guess when you put an actor in a mask, it's like being in a mask class again or something. They can go to this deeper kind of sadistic level, maybe if you give them enough time.
Very true. So obviously, I know you're on Instagram, and I have seen what's on there. So for the ladies and gentlemen listening, would you like to tell them how to find you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to look for me on any of the social media sites on Instagram, Twitter, even TikTok, the handle is Chris Silcox, and it's just my name. And instead of 2 S's, it's 1. So it's Chris Silcox. So you can look me up on Google, and you'll find it all. I think I should be the first one to pop up on Google. I'm competing with a law firm with my same name, but I there on IMDb, and you can find me from all of those. So yeah, Chris Silcox on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of that.
I cannot recommend you go and watch anybody's Instagram stories more than his. I swear.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I've never been amazed so much to see someone's Instagram. I'm like, wow.
Thanks, dude.
Anytime.
Appreciate it.
Yep. So, just a little quiz about your stunt work. It's nothing major. It's just a kind of little question, just so we can get to know stunt working a little bit better. So, what's the most dangerous stunt you've done?
Uh-huh. I was shot off a catapult called an air ram through a window onto a diner table and then onto the floor. Ouch. And I don't think I will ever do that again. So I think that's probably one of the decisions in my career where you could have said, Chris, are you okay in the head? And it was really gratifying that I was able to do it, because practicing it, I was failing miserably. Yeah. So it's for an Apple TV show called Amazing Stories. I think the TV show is called Signs of Life. It's near the end of the episode, but it's a pretty gnarly stunt, and that's definitely one of the more dangerous stunts I've ever done.
Ouch, is all I'm going to say on that. All right then. Well, let's flip the script a little bit. What's been the easiest stunt you've done?
I stood on a fence for a Nike commercial.
Is that it?
That was a stunt. Yeah, if you can believe it. Yeah, actually, I literally stood on a fence because it was 3 feet off the ground. And the reason they do that kind of stuff is like legal reasons for, you don't want an extra to hurt himself or herself. So you get a stunt person to do it and you're covered.
Wow. Whoever thought stunt work could be so easy?
I didn't even think it could be that easy. So
it's nice to be surprised, isn't it? All right, then here's one for you. One you thought you might die.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. One you thought you might die doing. Now, if everyone asks why I'm asking this, because it stems from Pierce Brosnan's old stunt double on when he was 007, Wayne Michaels. He attempted a world record for a bungee jump or a dive off a dam. I believe the name was the Produska Dam in Switzerland for GoldenEye, and it was actually a world record.
Yeah.
But first thing I remember him saying when I saw that is, obviously when things like this can go seriously wrong, and I thought, jumping off that dam, you probably kill yourself. So, is there one that you thought you might die doing?
Thought maybe that one that I described to you would be pretty hairy, but it ended up being relatively safe after we practiced it and did everything, for a long time. I actually die. Oh my God. I mean, I gotta say, I think that Apple one would scare me the most. Yeah. Was pretty great all the way through, and I was lucky enough to get out with my head still attached to my shoulders.
And your sanity intact as well.
Mm-hmm. That too.
All right then. Have you had a stunt that you've actually had a fear of, but you just did it regardless anyway?
Yeah. There's always an element of fear because like I said, you've never done that particular thing before. It's brand new each time. Man, each one has something about it that's a little hairy that that you might just go wrong, and you sure. I'm trying to think of one in particular that was more hairy. I can wrap up all of these into that one stunt that I told you about, but it's yeah.
Right.
And it might go wrong, but lucky enough it went okay, and thank God,
All right, then. Here's one that won't get answered by that particular stunt. Is there any stunts that you thought you could have done bigger or less, but then they ended up being? Like we could have just gone a little harder, and we could have made it look a little bit more amazing. Yeah, if you like. Yeah. There's definitely one. I did this one for Marvel's Runaways, which was really. It was pretty interesting. I was being pulled, and it was on concrete, and it was I was being pulled into like the host stand in front of the restaurant, where the host stands in front of and takes you to your table and stuff up. Yeah. I was being thrown against it, and we practiced it just out in the parking lot because sometimes you only get a couple hours or a couple minutes to practice something before you try it for the first time, and then you hook yourself up and you go. So I'm being thrown, and at the same time I'm on this wire and being pulled really fast into this host stand, and as I was doing it, I get twisted in one direction, kind of over my shoulder, and my legs come up, so my back's to the ground completely before my chest and my side go into this host stand. And I have a video of it on my Instagram. If you look closely, I actually tapped my foot on it right before the rest of my body hit. Ouch. And if I would have jumped just a little harder or jumped a little higher, that could have looked really cool, because and the host stand slid out of frame, kind of like a top, like it was spinning almost, instead of falling down and me rolling over it. So if I would have just gone a little harder and a little bit more, if I would have just been a little bit more daring, not so careful, I would have been fine. And the stunt would have probably worked a little bit better. But if you see the TV show, everything looks great. I mean, it looks brutal. It looks like it hurt, which it did, because I fell on concrete afterward. And it's just like those little things. Sometimes you only get to do them once, because after I did it once, and then they were like, yeah, done. We're moving on. We don't have time to do it again. So I did it. They got it, and we were moving on, crack on to the next thing. So you always think you can go a little harder. Yeah. But sometimes you go hard enough, and that's okay with you, All right, well, I'm glad you brought that up, actually. What injuries have you had doing stunt work, no matter how big or how small? I bet you've had a lot. I'm going to knock on some wood right now, because I've been pretty lucky. I haven't gotten too banged up, too beat up. I from a lifetime of doing gymnastics and parkour and circus stuff. I've done 1,400 shows with Cirque du Soleil before I was a stuntman. So that kind of time spent, in addition to being a gymnast for over a decade, kind of does things to your body. I'm lucky enough that I haven't broken a bone. I haven't done anything really horrible to my head, neck, anything. I have sustained, like just from falling on concrete, I have 2 herniated discs in my back, one in my thoracic spine, one in my lumbar spine. They don't feel good. It kind of hinders me from doing everything that I would like to, but they're manageable. And, sprained ankles, wrists. I've dislocated my toe. More than I can say. I popped them back in, several dozen times. But
other than that, been pretty lucky. So I've also taken care of myself. Haven't done anything that I wasn't super confident that I could come out of it okay, you know?
Yeah.
And so I've been pretty lucky in that respect. Keep knocking on wood.
Keep crossing all your fingers and toes as well, by the sound of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right then. What's the one stunt you've seen that you thought it was like classic Grand Tour, ambitious but rubbish?
Like Grand Tour ambitious but rubbish. Like we didn't need it, actually? Is that what you mean?
I was actually thinking along the lines of, right, that could work, but when you actually put it into reality, it kind of like was complete rubbish, and it was like, yeah, we need to do this another way.
Yeah, man. Those are hard because you're working with a team of people usually who they don't have too much time, and so you need to kind of figure it out one way.
Yeah.
One of the ways that happens often is if you're going to do something with a wire.
Yeah.
But you can do it easy enough on your own. So sometimes doing a big flip or something off of a higher structure or off the wall or something like that. Maybe you envision it with a wire, but then you end up doing it and it looks okay on your own. You can manage it with a springboard or with a trampoline or with an air ram or something like that. So really, it's something like that. And so when we were doing a commercial. We were doing a commercial for Spider-Man Homecoming, and they wanted me to do. They flipped the ceiling to the floor, so I was upside down. So basically, I was running up the wall and had to flip up onto the ceiling. And they wanted to do it with a wire, but we just didn't have time to get me out of this harness that I was trying stuff in. And so I just did it. I did this kind of flip off the wall. It was almost like an Arabian, if you know what. Arabian off the wall, back down to the floor, and we thought we could do it with a wire, but didn't end up having the time. Did it? They got the shot. They said it was great. That's all they needed, and we could move on. So sometimes after time, then it ends up being done a completely different way or a much simpler way. There's often a stunt in a lot of films and TV shows. You'll see it often where somebody is maybe grabbed by the belt loop and they're thrown against the wall. So their feet go ass over tea kettle and they're back into the wall and they come down. It's called a goo trap, and that's because the line goes in between your legs and connects to your lower back. And so what happens is somebody pulls you and you turn upside down and your back hits that wall and then you come to the ground. Now, it's a kind of a painful and a weird way to do it, and you can do the same effect if you just take one wire, split it in two, and put it on both hips so that you can spin around as if you're doing, like some backflips or something on an aerial rig.
Bit of an education.
That little change, it makes life easier. So if you're ever planning on doing a goo trap as a stuntman, you can also say, maybe we could try it this way, because one of that goo trap can be a little unpredictable sometimes. As if you've done it several times.
No, but I can always imagine. I think I've seen enough.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of stunt work in my 30-odd years, so I can probably have a rough idea. I don't like to say that I know, because I don't. I just see and think, yeah, that could work. That's a good idea. Right. Main question.
Yeah, that's basically half of our job. Yeah, that could work.
Main question about a stuntman. Do you have any fear at all?
Oh, yeah. Fear every day you go to work,
Fair enough. Very, very honest.
Just like that.
Very honest.
Sometimes
I like it.
Yeah, well, I think a lot about being a stuntman is being brave. You don't want to look. You don't want to make people nervous because you're doing the thing that everybody thinks is scary. And sometimes you think it's scary too, but you're going to do it anyway because that's your job. And that's what they brought you in to do, and they're going to get that shot, and it's probably going to be okay. You just need to be aware that things can go wrong and then be ready, because if you're ready, then most of the time things will, even if something changes, if like say a table breaks or something, or the window breaks, or the wall, the wire breaks or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I have fear all the time. Anybody who says that they don't is lying, because they may have something wrong with their head, because they're, I don't know. There's a lot of adrenaline junkies in stunt work, and it's a great place for them to be. But yeah, there's a little bit of fear every day you go to work, because you don't know what's going to happen. But I think a lot of stunt guys will say being brave is what they want to. But they just want to show everybody that it's not as scary as they might think. Yeah. So being brave and living up to it is a big part of being a stuntman.
And every single stuntman who has worked has my respect, because some of them do look a lot difficult from when you actually watch it on screen. Some look unpleasant. Some are like, oh God, I'm so glad I don't do that.
Yeah.
Right, so last couple of questions for you. Was there any TV or movies that you'd love to have done stunt work for but couldn't for whatever reason? I'll give you an example. You might not know this, but Dougray Scott was meant to play Wolverine when they started up the X-Men movies at Fox, but he had to do reshoots for Mission Impossible 2, so that's why we got Hugh Jackman to play him.
Amazing. I didn't know that. Wow, what that would have been, I mean, we wouldn't have had the Wolverine that we know and love for so many years. I mean, maybe it would be quite different, but I would wonder if he would have stuck around for the tenure, I mean, yeah, scheduling works out really funny everywhere. I was doing a stunt for a TV show called Black Lightning in Atlanta, and at the same time, our stunt coordinator for Spider-Man, this movie Tenet, and I got called to do it, and I was so distraught. I was so... I disappointed, because if there's anybody I wanted to work with, it was Christopher Nolan, and that movie at that time, it just seemed like everything I was working toward, but I had already agreed to do another job, and maybe if I was younger, I would have called up the other job and said, I can't do it, but now that I know that keep coming, I know that I could relax, and other great opportunities will come, because I'm not I don't sit and wait for things to come to me. I usually go after them, so that's definitely like the biggest thing I've wanted to do, But not many of those things have happened, luckily enough. You'll hear a lot of stories of people who have had to give up things for things that they were already on. Yeah. But you know what? It's not easy to work in this business, especially if you're starting out. You want to give up every day, because there's just, why continue when there's so many people already doing it? And the truth is, stick with it, and you keep learning, you'll find you'll be valuable somewhere, and a great opportunity will find itself, staring you in the face. So I try to let those go. As disappointing as they were, Christopher Nolan will make another film, and hopefully.
I'm going to say I actually feel for you simply because if I got the call that Chris Nolan wanted to be on set for any reason, I would be there in a second. So you definitely have my sympathy.
Yeah. And possibly your hatred, too, for not having done.
Yeah, and the jealousy would be very real indeed. All right, then final question. So is there any franchises that you'd like to do stunt work for that you haven't yet, but we'll just obviously include Chris Nolan in that since you've just said you'd love to work with him?
Oh yeah, all Chris Nolan's films, The Matrix, whatever Matrix 4, 5, 6, 7, put me in it. I want to be a part of it. Batman's, Batman was my big superhero growing up. So I'm on that. He was the one that I identified with, I guess, the most. So any of the Batman films just seemed like so much fun. Would be so awesome. Man, I've been pretty fortunate to be a part of quite and I can't talk about a few of them right now, but I've gotten to do some things that are coming out that are pretty amazing that I've gotten to be a part of that franchise. I can't miss this one. Star Wars. Please put me in any Star Wars. I mean, you and me both, Dean. Let's go. Let's do it.
Just not 7, 8, or 9 because they were just, oh my god.
Yeah, they left something to want a little bit more of. But people also said that for the prequels too, and if I would have had a chance to do anything along with Ray Park for Darth Maul for the Phantom Menace, I mean, that's probably the pinnacle of Jedi Star Wars world. How much amazingness did they really capture in that final battle? Even if the rest of the movie and the rest of the fandom didn't like those, they had some amazing stunt work. And The Mandalorian and the new Obi-Wan series will have some amazing things coming out, and I can't wait to see those. That's the world I want to play in next, for sure.
Well, Mandalorian Season 2 is out the end of next month, so we've not got that long to wait for it. Yep. Right, so Chris, it has been an absolute honour and a privilege to have you on, and I wish you nothing but the best for the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, Spider-Man himself, Chris Silcox.
Thank you so much, Dean. I really appreciate you having me on, man.
Anytime, AT.